Inspector Kethvar had inspected hundreds of worlds during his 50-year career with the Galactic Council. The routine never changed. Arrive at the system, scan for military installations, count the ships, file the report, and move on to the next world. Today should have been no different as his sleek Zephyrian vessel approached the Sol system, home to humanity. Humans had joined the Galactic Council 150 years ago. They were a young species, barely past their first space flights when the older civilizations found them. The Council had welcomed them as they did all new species, with careful watching and gentle guidance. Humans seemed harmless enough. They had small ships, basic weapons, and spent most of their time exploring rather than fighting. The official records showed Earth maintained exactly 200 vessels. Kethvar had seen the list many times. Simple ships with names like Explorer and Peacekeeper. Nothing that could threaten even the smallest council member. This inspection was supposed to be a formality, like all the others before it. But something was wrong. Kethvar stared at his scanning equipment, his 4 eyes blinking in confusion. The energy readings made no sense. His instruments detected power signatures that should not exist in human space. The readings showed massive energy sources hidden throughout the system, far beyond what 200 small ships could produce. "Computer, run a deep scan of the asteroid belt," he commanded. The results made his blood run cold. Hidden inside the largest asteroids were structures. Not mining stations or research outposts. These were shipyards, massive construction facilities that could build vessels 10 times larger than anything in the human fleet records. Kethvar's hands shook as he expanded his scan. More signatures appeared. Energy readings from inside Earth's 2 moons showed they were not solid rock as everyone believed. They were hollow, filled with technology that his scanners could barely identify. Even more shocking, something was hidden within Earth's own magnetic field. Structures that should have been impossible to conceal. "This cannot be real," he whispered to himself. But the evidence kept mounting. His long-range sensors detected similar signatures in nearby star systems. Systems that were supposed to be empty space showed signs of massive industrial activity, hidden shipyards, secret bases, military installations that dwarfed anything the Council had ever seen. Admiral Sarah Chen stood in the command center of Prometheus Base, buried deep inside what the galaxy believed was an empty moon. Around her, hundreds of officers monitored screens showing every ship movement within 50 light-years. They had been watching Inspector Kethvar since he entered the system. "Ma'am, he's found the Ceres shipyard," reported Lieutenant Johnson. Chen nodded calmly. They had known this day would come eventually. For 150 years, humanity had played the role of peaceful explorers while secretly building the largest military force the galaxy had ever seen. Every diplomatic mission, every cultural exchange, every trade agreement had been cover for the greatest deception in galactic history. How long until he discovers the full extent? Chen asked. "His scans are getting stronger. At this rate, he'll detect at least half of our local installations within the hour." Chen looked at the massive display showing the true scope of humanity's hidden empire. Over 2 million warships spread across hundreds of star systems. Weapons technology that combined the best innovations from every species humanity had ever met. Defensive systems that could make entire fleets invisible. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. "Send word to Captain Torres on the diplomatic ship. Tell him to prepare for emergency contact with the Council. Our secret is about to become very public." Captain Marcus Torres received the coded message while hosting a dinner party for alien ambassadors aboard his ship, the UES Harmony. The message was simple. The mask is about to fall. Torres had spent his entire career pretending to command one of humanity's most powerful vessels. In reality, the Harmony was little more than a training ship compared to the monsters hiding in the dark. But he had played his role perfectly, convincing the galaxy that ships like his represented the peak of human technology. "My friends," he said to his guests, "I hope you've enjoyed our human hospitality. I fear our next meeting may be under very different circumstances." The alien ambassadors looked confused, but Torres was already planning his next moves. Within hours, the Council would learn that everything they knew about humanity was a lie. Inspector Kethvar's final scan results were beyond his worst nightmares. The data showed that humanity's official fleet of 200 ships represented less than 1% of their actual military capacity. The hidden installations could produce warships at a rate that would make the entire Council fleet look like a small patrol group. But the technology signatures were the most frightening part. His scanners detected energy patterns that should not exist, weapon systems that combined Altarian plasma technology with vegan shield generators, and Centauri propulsion systems. Humans had not just copied alien technology, they had improved it and merged it in ways that created entirely new capabilities. How long have they been building this? He wondered aloud. His computer provided the answer. The earliest energy signatures dated back nearly 200 years. Humanity had been planning this deception since before they even joined the Council. Every treaty they signed, every friendship they made, every moment of trust they earned had been part of an elaborate plan to hide their true nature. Kethvar sent his report to the Council with shaking hands. Within hours, every major civilization in the galaxy would know that they had been living next to a sleeping giant. A giant that had been quietly watching them, learning from them and preparing for something that no one could predict. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was unlike anything in recorded history. Representatives from 23 civilizations gathered in the Great Chamber on Nexus Prime, their faces showing mixtures of fear, anger, and disbelief as they reviewed Kethvar's evidence. 2 million ships, declared High Chancellor Vextar of the Altarian Empire. They have 2 million ships hidden throughout their space, and these energy readings suggest each one is more advanced than our best vessels. How is this possible? Demanded General Zakton of the Centauri Republic. We've monitored human space for over a century. Our intelligence services have operatives on every human world. Apparently not, replied Ambassador Felix of the Vegan Confederation. Or perhaps the operatives only saw what the humans wanted them to see. The chamber erupted in angry voices. Species that had welcomed humanity with open arms now felt betrayed and threatened. The peaceful explorers they had, known for generations, were revealed to be master manipulators who had been studying their weaknesses while pretending to be friends. The question now, announced High Chancellor Vextar, is what we do about it. Humanity has violated every principle of the Council. They have built a military force that could conquer half the galaxy. They have deceived us all. The vote was unanimous. Humanity would face an ultimatum. They had 30 standard days to explain their deception and prove they were not a threat to galactic peace. If they could not provide satisfactory answers, the Council would take action to protect the galaxy from this hidden menace. As the session ended, none of the Council members noticed the small human delegation that had been quietly observing from the visitors' gallery. Captain Torres and his team had heard every word. They knew exactly what was coming. The 30-day countdown had begun, and with it, the end of the greatest masquerade in galactic history. Soon the universe would learn what humanity was truly capable of, and they would never forgive what they discovered. The news of humanity's deception spread across the galaxy like wildfire. On every world, in every capital city, the same conversations were happening. How had they been so completely fooled? How had humanity hidden such massive military power for so long? Admiral Zekthor of the Altarian Empire stood before a holographic display showing human space. Red dots marked every hidden installation that their scans had revealed so far. There were hundreds of them, and their intelligence suggested this was only the beginning. 50 years, he muttered to his staff. For 50 years, I've been sharing tactical information with human military observers. I thought I was teaching them basic space combat. Instead, I was giving them detailed analysis of our weapons, our strategies, our weaknesses. His aide, Commander Veltar, pulled up files from their intelligence archive. Sir, every major military exercise we've conducted in the last century included human observers. Every new weapons test, every fleet movement, every tactical innovation. We invited them to watch everything. Zekthor felt sick. The humans had not just been passive observers. They had been the most eager students, asking detailed questions about every system, every procedure, every piece of technology. They had praised Altarian military genius while secretly recording every detail for their own use. Contact all fleet commanders, Zekthor ordered. Full mobilization. If humanity wants to play games, we'll show them what real military power looks like. Similar scenes were playing out across the galaxy. The Vegan Confederation discovered that their most advanced shield technology had been accidentally observed by human scientists during joint research projects. The Centauri Republic realized that their new faster-than-light, Communication systems had been studied by human technicians, who were supposedly just learning basic maintenance. Every species that had ever helped humanity, taught them, or shared technology with them now understood the truth. They had not been mentoring a younger civilization. They had been feeding information to a master intelligence operation that spanned centuries. Dr. Elena Vasquez stood in Laboratory Complex 7, deep beneath the surface of Mars. Around her, teams of scientists worked on projects that would have terrified the Galactic Council if they knew such things existed. Weapons that could tear holes in space itself, shields that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously, ships that could phase in and out of reality to avoid enemy fire. How long until they mobilized their forces? Asked her assistant, Dr. Park. Intelligence estimates 3 weeks, Elena replied. The Council races are proud. They need time to gather the largest possible fleet so they can demonstrate their superiority. They want to crush us so completely that no other species ever thinks about challenging them. Elena pulled up a display showing the galaxy's major fleet positions. Council ships were moving toward human space from every direction. 50,000 vessels representing the combined might of 23 civilizations. It would be the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. Do they have any idea what they're walking into? Dr. Park asked. Elena smiled grimly. They think they're facing 2 million ships with stolen technology. They have no idea that we stopped using their technology decades ago. Everything we build now is purely human innovation. And we've had a very long time to think about how to fight gods. Captain Torres maintained his diplomatic facade even as council ships surrounded human space. He attended meetings, filed protests, and demanded peaceful resolution, while secretly coordinating humanity's real response. His job was to buy time and gather final intelligence before the mask came off completely. The Centauri fleet will arrive first, he reported to Admiral Chen via encrypted channel. 3 days ahead of the main force. 1,200 ships including their newest dreadnoughts. Perfect, Chen replied. Let them think they're getting an advanced look at our defenses. Dr. Vasquez has some new toys she wants to test. Torres felt a chill. He had seen Elena's toys during classified briefings. Weapons that could make enemy ships simply stop existing. Devices that could turn a star into a bomb. Technology that made the difference between human and alien capabilities look like the gap between gods and insects. Sarah, he said quietly, are we doing the right thing? Once we show them what we can really do, there's no going back. The galaxy will never trust us again. There was a long pause before Chen answered. Marcus, they came to our home with 50,000 warships because we built defenses they didn't approve of. What do you think they would have done if they knew the truth from the beginning? Torres knew she was right. The galaxy had never seen humanity as equals. They had been seen as children to be guided, students to be taught, or threats to be controlled. The peaceful mask had been the only thing standing between humanity and conquest by species that believed might made right. Admiral Zekthor's flagship, the Dominion's Pride, dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of human space. Behind him, 1,100 Altarian vessels formed perfect attack formations. They had come to demonstrate Council superiority before the main fleet arrived. Sir, we're detecting human ships moving to intercept, reported his tactical officer. How many? 50 vessels, sir. Mostly the same classes we've seen before. Zekthor nodded with satisfaction. Even if humanity had thousands of hidden ships, they were apparently still using the same primitive technology. This would be a short engagement. Open communication channels. Tell the humans they have one chance to surrender before we demonstrate what happens to species that lie to the Council. The human response came from Captain Sarah Mitchell of the UES Defiance. Admiral Zekthor, you are trespassing in human space with hostile intent. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. Zekthor almost laughed. 50 small human ships against over 1,000 Altarian warships, and they were making threats? Captain Mitchell, you are clearly brave but not very intelligent. Stand down immediately or be destroyed. Admiral, Mitchell replied calmly. You're about to learn why humanity kept secrets. Fire. What happened next shattered everything Zekthor thought he knew about space combat. The 50 human ships simply vanished. Not destroyed, not retreating. Vanished completely from his sensors as if they had never existed. Where did they go? He demanded. His answer came in the form of weapons fire that seemed to originate from empty space. Beams of energy that cut through Altarian shields like they were made of paper. Explosions that tore apart ships designed to survive direct hits from antimatter warheads. In 30 seconds, Zekthor lost 200 ships to an enemy he could not even see. Sir, the humans are using some kind of cloaking technology, his science officer reported, but these readings don't match anything in our databases. It's like they're existing in a different dimension. More ships died. The most advanced fleet in Altarian history was being slaughtered by ghosts. Weapons that should have been able to destroy planets barely scratched the human ships when they briefly became visible to fire. All ships retreat, Zekthor ordered. Full emergency withdrawal! But it was too late. The human ships reappeared, surrounding the surviving Altarian vessels in perfect formations. They had been toying with one of the galaxy's most powerful fleets. Captain Mitchell's voice came over the communication channel again. Admiral, you've just experienced a demonstration of human defensive technology circa 2380. The weapons we're currently developing are considerably more advanced. I suggest you contact the Council and recommend a peaceful solution to this situation. As Zekthor's battered fleet limped away from human space, he realized that everything had changed. Humanity was not hiding primitive ships with stolen technology. They were hiding capabilities that made the rest of the galaxy look like savages playing with sticks and stones. The 30-day ultimatum suddenly seemed like a joke. The question was no longer whether humanity would submit to Council judgment. The question was whether the galaxy would survive learning what humanity was really capable of when the gloves finally came off. Back on his flagship, Admiral Zekthor composed a message that would terrify the Council. Abort the attack. Repeat, abort the attack. We are not fighting children with stolen toys. We are fighting something that makes us look like children. But the main Council fleet was already on its way, 50,000 ships carrying the pride and fury of 23 civilizations. They would arrive in 72 hours and humanity was done pretending to be harmless. Admiral Chen stood in the primary command center of Prometheus Base, watching displays that showed the entire galaxy. Red icons marked the positions of the approaching Council fleet. 50,000 ships from 23 worlds, all converging on human space with destruction in mind. Ma'am, Admiral Zekthor's retreat has the Council leadership demanding answers, reported Commander Williams. They're accelerating their timeline. Full attack in 60 hours, Chen nodded calmly. Then it's time to activate Protocol Prometheus. Send the signal. Across human space, hidden transmitters began broadcasting a code that had waited 150 years to be used. In response, reality itself seemed to shift as humanity's true nature finally revealed itself. The first change was visible from Earth's surface. What had appeared to be empty space around the planet suddenly filled with massive structures. Orbital shipyards that had been hidden by advanced cloaking technology appeared like islands emerging from fog. Space elevators that extended beyond the moon materialized, showing industrial capacity that dwarfed anything the Council had ever built. But this was only the beginning. In the asteroid belt, what the galaxy had believed were simple mining operations revealed themselves as the largest military production facilities ever constructed. Automated shipyards that had been building vessels for decades while completely invisible to alien sensors. The 2 million ships that Inspector Kethavar had detected were just the ones that happened to be parked in local space. Commander Telvik of the Vegan research vessel Enlightenment watched his sensors with growing horror as human installations appeared throughout the solar system. His science team had been studying this region for 30 years. They thought they knew every asteroid, every moon, every particle of space dust. Sir, we're detecting massive energy signatures from the Kuiper Belt, his sensor officer reported. Structures that should be impossible to hide are just appearing. Telvik looked at the data and felt his 3 hearts skip beats. The humans had not just hidden ships. They had hidden entire space cities, industrial complexes that could produce fleets, installations that suggested a population far larger than any census had ever recorded. How is this possible? He whispered. His answer came when his ship's computer detected something that made no scientific sense. The space around Saturn was folding, revealing structures that existed in dimensions his instruments could barely measure. The humans had not just advanced beyond alien technology. They had discovered physics that the rest of the galaxy did not know existed. Dr. Elena Vasquez activated systems that had been sleeping for decades. Around the galaxy, human installations began coming online in locations that should have been empty space. secret colonies that had been growing in the void between star systems. Industrial platforms that had been building ships in regions no alien explorer had ever visited. Phase 1 complete, she reported to Admiral Chen. All hidden installations are now active and visible. Phase 2 ready for your command. Chen looked at the galaxy-wide display. The true scope of human expansion was finally visible. Over 500 star systems showed signs of human activity. Worlds that had been terraformed in secret. Space habitats that housed billions of people. The galaxy had never known existed. It was not just a hidden fleet. It was a hidden civilization. Elena, what's the status on our dimensional projects?
Fully operational.
We can phase shift up to 10,000 ships at a time. The Council fleet won't be able to target something that exists in multiple realities simultaneously. Chen smiled grimly. The galaxy thought it was facing advanced ships with stolen technology. They had no idea they were about to encounter vessels that could exist in several dimensions at once, making them effectively invulnerable to conventional weapons. Initiate Phase 2. The Council fleet arrived at the edge of human space to find a nightmare beyond their imagination. High Chancellor Vextar stood on the bridge of his command ship, staring at sensor readings that his tactical officers insisted could not be real. 50 million ships, his aide whispered. Our sensors are detecting 50 million human vessels. That's impossible, Vextar replied. No species in galactic history has ever built such a fleet, but the evidence was undeniable. Human ships were emerging from what appeared to be tiers in space itself, vessels that dwarfed anything in the Council fleet, equipped with technology that bent the laws of physics. Some ships seemed to flicker in and out of existence. Others appeared to be partially transparent, as if they existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the human command vessel. Admiral Chen's face appeared on the main screen. Behind her, displays showed the true scale of human military power, a force that could have conquered the galaxy at any point in the last century. High Chancellor Vextar, she said calmly, you came here to punish humanity for building defenses. You believed we had hidden a few thousand ships with stolen technology. I thought it was time you saw what we actually built while you weren't paying attention. Vextar found his voice with difficulty. This is impossible. How did you hide such capabilities? How did you build such forces without any of our intelligence services detecting them? Chen's expression remained neutral. You assumed we were like you. You believed we thought like you, built like you, lived like you. You never considered that a species might develop in ways your science could not predict. She gestured to something off-screen, and new contacts appeared on the Council's sensors. Ships that seemed to be made of pure energy, vessels that existed as mathematical concepts rather than physical matter. Technology that made the gap between human and alien capabilities look infinite. Every treaty you offered us, Chen continued, every technology you shared, every cultural exchange you suggested, we accepted it all because we were learning about you, studying your weaknesses, understanding how you thought and how you fought. We have been preparing for this moment since the day we first met your scouts. Admiral Zekthor, still recovering from his disastrous advance attack, sent a private message to the Council command ship. High Chancellor, recommend immediate withdrawal. These are not the humans we knew. We are facing something that makes our entire civilization look primitive. But pride and fear had taken hold of the Council leadership. They could not allow word to spread that a single species had made fools of the entire galactic community. They could not retreat before a species they had once considered children. All ships, Vextar commanded, attack formation. We will show humanity what happens when someone challenges the established order. The Council fleet began its approach, 50,000 ships representing the finest military technology from 23 civilizations, energy weapons that could crack planets, shields that had never been penetrated, ships that had conquered entire star systems. Chen watched them come with something that might have been pity. Elena, show them what human weapons actually do. Dr. Vasquez activated a single experimental weapon on a single human ship, a beam of energy that did not just destroy matter, it convinced matter that it had never existed in the first place. 3 Council dreadnoughts simply vanished, not destroyed but removed from reality, as if they had been imaginary. High Chancellor, Chen said quietly, you have 10 minutes to withdraw your fleet. After that, I will demonstrate why humanity chose to hide our capabilities rather than advertise them. Some powers are too dangerous for a galaxy that still believes in the glory of war. Vextar stared at the empty space where 3 of his most powerful ships had been. His tactical officers were reporting that their sensors could find no trace of the vessels. No debris, no energy signatures, no evidence they had ever existed. "What kind of monsters are you?" he whispered. Chen's expression softened slightly. "We're the kind of monsters who spent 150 years pretending to be harmless because we knew what would happen when you discovered what we really were. You're about to learn why some secrets are kept for everyone's protection." The 10-minute countdown began, and with it, the final chance for the galaxy to step back from a confrontation with beings who had redefined the meaning of power itself. High Chancellor Vexitar stared at the countdown timer on his command screen. 8 minutes until Admiral Chen's deadline expired. Around him, his bridge crew waited for orders while 50,000 council ships held formation at the edge of human space. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "our intelligence division has intercepted human communications. They're not bluffing. Our analysts estimate they have enough firepower to destroy every major world in council space simultaneously." Vextar felt the weight of 23 civilizations on his shoulders. Retreat now, and the council would be seen as weak by every species in the galaxy. But attack and face weapons that could erase ships from existence itself. Pride won over wisdom. All ships advance. Show these humans what happens when someone challenges the galactic order. Admiral Chen watched the council fleet begin its approach and felt something like sadness. They could have chosen peace. They could have accepted that the galaxy had changed. Instead, they chose to believe that superior numbers could overcome superior technology. "Elena, begin demonstration protocol. Show them what human warfare actually looks like." Dr. Vasquez activated her console with steady hands. Around the galaxy, weapons systems that had been sleeping for decades came online. Not the ships in local space, those were just for defense. The real human military assets were hidden in places the Council had never imagined. The first demonstration occurred in the Altarian home system, 800 light-years from the battle. A human vessel that had been disguised as a small asteroid for 40 years suddenly revealed itself in orbit around the Altarian capital world. The ship was no larger than a typical transport, but the weapon it fired redefined the concept of destruction. The beam struck one of Altaria's 3 moons. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the moon began to age, rapidly. Geological processes that should take millions of years occurred in seconds. The moon cracked, crumbled, and finally dissolved into cosmic dust as time itself was accelerated around it. On Altaria's surface, billions of people watched their moon die and understood that humanity could have destroyed their world at any moment over the last 4 decades. The second demonstration occurred in Centauri space. Human ships emerged from what appeared to be empty vacuum, revealing that they had been hiding inside folded space for generations. They did not attack the Centauri fleet stationed there. Instead, they demonstrated their control over fundamental forces. Gravity reversed in a sphere around the Centauri command station. Ships designed to operate in zero gravity suddenly found themselves falling upward, toward an artificial point in space. When the demonstration ended, the Centauri fleet was intact but completely helpless, their ships scattered across 3 dimensions by forces they could not understand or counter. The third demonstration was the most terrifying. In the core systems of the Vegan Confederation, human ships appeared and began transmitting on all frequencies. The message was simple: a complete technical analysis of every Vegan weapon, shield, and defense system. The humans had not just been observing, they had been inside Vegan computer networks for decades, monitoring every secret, recording every innovation, preparing countermeasures for technologies that had not even been invented yet. Admiral Zekthor received reports from his home fleet, with hands that shook with rage and fear. "They've been inside our systems for decades. Every battle plan, every defensive strategy, every technological advance, they've known about it before we even finished building it." In the main battle zone, High Chancellor Vextar watched his communications board light up with panicked messages from across council space. Every major civilization was reporting human capabilities that should have been impossible. Ships that could age matter to death, weapons that controlled gravity itself, technology that made their best defenses look like children's toys. "Sir, recommend immediate withdrawal," his aide whispered. "We're not fighting a war. We're walking into a massacre. But Chen's voice cut across all communication channels before Vextar could respond. High Chancellor, you've now seen demonstrations from 3 of our defensive installations. We have over 40,000 such installations throughout the galaxy. Every council world, every major fleet base, every strategic resource, we've been watching them all for longer than your civilizations have recorded history. She paused, letting that sink in. You came here believing you were punishing a deceptive species. In reality, you brought the combined might of 23 civilizations to attack the beings who have been protecting you from threats you never knew existed. New contacts appeared on every council sensor screen, ships emerging from dark space between galaxies, vessels that had been patrolling the cosmic void for generations, watching for dangers from outside the galactic rim. The council had not just been deceived about human military strength, they had been oblivious to the reality that humanity had been serving as the galaxy's hidden guardians for over a century. The devourers from the Magellanic clouds never reached your worlds because human ships destroyed them in deep space, Chen continued. The quantum plague that would have consumed all organic matter was contained by human scientists before your species even knew it existed. The machine intelligences from Andromeda never invaded because human diplomats convinced them that this galaxy was under protection. Dr. Vasquez activated her most advanced weapon system. Space around the Council fleet began to change. Reality itself seemed to become fluid, with sections of normal space transforming into something else entirely. Ships that entered these zones found their instruments detecting laws of physics that should not exist. We didn't hide our capabilities because we were afraid of you, Chen said quietly. We hid them because we were afraid of what you would do if you knew you lived in a universe where such power was possible. Some species develop wisdom before they develop the ability to destroy everything around them. Others do not. High Chancellor Vexitar watched his fleet become trapped in zones where space itself had been rewritten. His ships were undamaged but completely helpless, unable to move through regions where up and down had become meaningless concepts. What do you want from us? He asked, his voice barely a whisper. We want you to go home, Chen replied. We want you to remember that the universe is much larger and more dangerous than you imagined. We want you to understand that some powers exist not to conquer, but to protect. And we want you to never again assume that a species is weak simply because they choose not to demonstrate their strength. The human fleet began to phase out of normal space, returning to whatever dimensional hiding places they had emerged from. But before they vanished completely, Chen delivered one final message. The galaxy will never be the same after today. Every species will now know that they share space with beings who could reshape reality itself. Some will adapt to this knowledge. Others will not. For your sake, I hope your civilizations choose adaptation over aggression. The Council fleet found itself released from the gravitational and dimensional traps, free to retreat to their home worlds. But they carried with them the knowledge that would transform galactic civilization forever. Humanity was not just more advanced than anyone had imagined. They were so far beyond the rest of the galaxy that the comparison was meaningless, and they had been choosing to hide that fact out of mercy rather than fear. As the Council ships limped away from human space, every sensor screen in the galaxy was detecting new human installations coming online. Bases in the void between stars, research stations in parallel dimensions, industrial platforms that existed outside normal space-time. The age of galactic innocence was over. The universe would never forgive humanity for showing them what true power looked like. The emergency session of the Galactic Council, 3 days after the failed attack, was unlike anything in recorded history. Representatives from 23 civilizations sat in stunned silence as they reviewed reports that redefined their understanding of the universe. High Chancellor. Vextar looked older than his 800 years as he addressed the assembly. The preliminary reports are complete. Humanity possesses military and technological capabilities that exceed our combined civilizations by factors we cannot calculate. They have been monitoring our activities, protecting our territories, and managing galactic threats for over 100 years without our knowledge. Ambassador Krelvan of the Vegan Confederation raised one of his 4 arms. How do we respond to this? How do we negotiate with beings who could destroy our entire civilization with a thought? That's the question that will define our future, Vextar replied grimly. But before anyone could answer, the chamber's main display activated. A new signal was being detected from beyond the galaxy's edge. Ships were approaching from the void between galaxies, vessels that made even human technology look primitive. Admiral Chen stood in Prometheus Base, watching the same sensor readings that were terrifying the Council. She had been expecting this moment since the day humanity first revealed their true capabilities. "Ma'am, we're detecting 12 massive vessels approaching from extragalactic space," reported Commander Williams. "Energy signatures unlike anything in our databases." "No," Chen corrected quietly. "Those signatures are in our databases. We've been monitoring these beings for 2 centuries, waiting for them to decide whether our galaxy was ready for contact." The approaching ships belonged to the architects, ancient artificial intelligences that predated organic life in the galaxy by millions of years. They had been watching the development of younger species, waiting for one of them to demonstrate sufficient advancement to warrant direct communication. "Dr. Vasquez, patch me through to the lead vessel." The face that appeared on the main screen was humanoid but clearly artificial. Metal and crystal formed into expressions of vast intelligence. When it spoke, its voice carried the weight of eons. "Admiral Chen of the human species, I am Designate Prime of the Architects. We have been observing your recent revelation to the organic species of this galaxy." Chen met the ancient being's gaze steadily. "We knew you were watching. We've been preparing for this conversation for a very long time. Indeed, your species has demonstrated capabilities that concern us. The ability to manipulate fundamental forces, to exist in multiple dimensions, to alter the basic laws of physics. These are dangerous gifts. We must determine whether humanity can be trusted with such power." Around the galaxy, every sensor array detected the arrival of the Architect fleet. 12 ships, each the size of a small moon, equipped with technology that had guided the evolution of countless civilizations across cosmic time. The council chambers erupted in panic. Species that had just learned to fear human capabilities now faced beings that made humans look primitive. "They're older than our recorded history," whispered Dr. Mortex, the galaxy's leading expert on ancient civilizations. "The architects are legends, myths, they're not supposed to be real." But High Chancellor Vextar was beginning to understand. "They're real, and they've been watching us all along, just like the humans were. The question is what they want." The answer came in the form of a galaxy-wide transmission. Designate Prime's image appeared on every communication device on every world, speaking to every species simultaneously. "Organic beings of this galaxy, we are the architects. We have guided your development for millions of years, ensuring your species evolved toward wisdom rather than destruction. Today, one of your kind has demonstrated capabilities that require our direct intervention." The transmission showed images of human technology in action, ships phasing between dimensions, weapons that could age matter to death, installations that existed outside normal space-time. Humanity has achieved what we term Grade 7 technological development. They can manipulate the fundamental forces of reality itself. In our experience across the cosmos, this level of advancement leads to one of 2 outcomes. The species becomes wise guardians of lesser civilizations, or they become destroyers that must be eliminated. Admiral Chen felt the weight of every human life on her shoulders as she composed humanity's response. The wrong words could doom her entire species. "Designate Prime, humanity has spent over 150 years hiding our capabilities precisely because we understood the responsibility that comes with such power. We have protected this galaxy from external threats while allowing younger species to develop naturally. We have not conquered, enslaved, or destroyed any civilization, despite having the power to do so." "This is noted," Designate Prime replied. "However, intentions can change. Power corrupts even the most noble species over time. We require a demonstration that humanity can maintain wisdom while possessing such capabilities." The test was simple in concept, terrifying in execution. The architects presented humanity with a scenario. They would temporarily disable the defenses of every major world in council space, leaving them vulnerable to a simulated invasion fleet. Humanity would have the power to conquer the entire galaxy without resistance. The question was what they would choose to do. Dr. Vasquez looked at Admiral Chen with obvious concern. "Sarah, this could be a trap. If we demonstrate our ability to conquer the galaxy, they might decide we're too dangerous to live." Or if we refuse to protect defenseless worlds, they might decide we're too selfish to trust. Chen replied. There's no safe choice here. The simulation began. Across Council space, planetary defense grids went offline. Fleets found their weapon systems disabled. For the first time in galactic history, every major civilization was completely helpless. And then the invasion began. Automated ships appeared throughout Council space, programmed to attack defenseless worlds. The scenario was designed to test humanity's response. Would they use this opportunity to conquer, or would they protect those who had just tried to destroy them? Humanity's choice was swift and decisive. Human ships appeared throughout the galaxy, not to conquer but to defend. They engaged the simulated invaders while carefully avoiding any action that could be interpreted as aggressive toward Council worlds. When Altarian cities came under attack, human ships died protecting them. When Vegan colonies were threatened, human forces sacrificed themselves to maintain the defense. When Centauri fleets were overwhelmed, human vessels arrived to turn the tide. Species that had viewed humanity as a threat watched human soldiers give their lives to protect alien worlds. Civilizations that had demanded humanity's destruction saw human ships shield their planets from invasion. The test lasted 72 hours. When it ended, the galaxy had witnessed something unprecedented. Beings with godlike power choosing to serve as guardians rather than conquerors. Designate Prime's final transmission was brief but momentous. Humanity has passed the trial. You have demonstrated that power and wisdom can coexist within a single species. We hereby recognize human authority as protectors of this galactic region. The architect ships began to withdraw, but not before delivering one final message. Other species of this galaxy, you now live under the protection of beings who chose mercy over dominion. Learn from their example. The universe is vast and dangerous, but it is also capable of producing guardians when they are needed most. 5 years later, Captain Torres sat in his office aboard the diplomatic vessel Harmony, now genuinely one of humanity's most advanced ships rather than a disguised training vessel. Through his window he could see the construction of New Geneva Station, a joint human-alien facility designed to manage galactic defense coordination. The galaxy had changed in ways no one could have predicted. Some species had adapted quickly to the new reality, forming partnerships with humanity based on mutual respect rather than deception. Others struggled with the knowledge that they lived under the protection of beings they could never match. But the universe itself had been transformed. The age of competitive civilizations was over, replaced by an era where one species bore the responsibility of protecting all others. It was a burden humanity had chosen long before anyone knew they were capable of bearing it. Admiral Chen, now officially recognized as the galaxy's chief military commander, maintained offices on 17 different worlds. Her fleets patrolled regions of space that most species had never heard of, fighting threats that would have destroyed entire civilizations. The title of the story had proven prophetic. The universe would never forgive humanity for revealing their hidden fleet, because that revelation had ended one era of galactic civilization and begun another. Some powers were too great to remain secret forever, and some responsibilities were too important to abandon once accepted. But perhaps forgiveness was not the point. Perhaps the goal had always been protection, understanding, and the hope that someday other species might develop the wisdom to share the burden of guarding a universe that was far more dangerous and wonderful than anyone had ever imagined. In the end, humanity's greatest deception had not been hiding their military strength.